The oil crash. Alarming information investors missed. In this video, we are going to talk about some alarming information investors missed before the oil crash and two key dates that blew the whistle. Something bad was about to happen in the oil industry. One of the biggest news in the stock market industry right now is the story about oil crashing. Now, a lot of people were not aware of some alarming information that they missed prior to this market going down. Interesting enough, there was information out there that was telling people who were paying attention that the oil market was about to crash and crash big. Now, to see what those were, one of the things was an article that came out by Goldman Sachs. This article came out on March 5th, 2020. Now, that is the first key date that I wanted to highlight because this day started something really major in the market. But before we go into details about what specifically was important on March 5th, I need to take you guys back to another article prior to that. 2 days before that, there was an article that was actually published by one of the leading consultants in the oil industry, a company called Facts Global Energy. Now, Facts Global Energy came out with a report about their research on oil and the demand on oil. And in this, it told everybody in that publication on March 3rd that the global oil demand was forecast to fall by 220,000 barrels a day. And because of that, it is important to expect more downside. Now, that was on the 3rd. The very next day, on the 4th, another article came out by another leading research and consulting company in the oil industry that said the 2020 first quarter oil demand has fallen to its largest level in history. Those 2 dates was very important because these articles came out and basically just told people, get ready for something major to happen in the oil industry. Now, these are the guys that are in the oil industry. They know what's going on. They pay attention to everything. And so by the 5th, there was a meeting that was supposed to be taking place between Russia and Saudi Arabia. And in that meeting, everybody was on hold trying to see whether it was going to save the oil industry or not. Now, one of the things that we like to do is when we hear news like this, we then like to go and verify that through technical analysis so that we can see what are these big institutions doing with all this information. And we use a software called Magenta Trader. Now, Magenta Trader, for those who might not know, is a technical analysis interpretation software. What it does is it interprets technical data into easy to read actionable words, looks at the important technical analysis data, and then in simple plain words just lets you know, using the algorithms, this is what we see happening. Now, on the 3rd, remember when FG&E first came out and said, get ready for something big. Anybody who had been paying attention to technical analysis, you would see what it says right here in the condition section where it says strong condition, place stop, meaning that there was a very strong recommendation to place your stops on any bullish trades on March 3rd. Let me take you to the software itself so you can see how things progressed from there. This was the same March 3rd right here. And as you can see, if we hover over that day, the strong condition was to place a stop. The very next day was March the 4th, which was when the second article came out. All it suggested, based on technical analysis, was to place a stop. The very next day, on the 5th, after the meeting began, what did technical analysis see? The key information, the alarming information that a lot of people miss. Technical analysis was now letting us know through Magenta Software that strong selling and strong shorting was beginning to take place. That was on the 5th. The next day, by the conclusion of that meeting, you can see that price had dropped significantly. Do you believe that somebody knew the outcome of that meeting before the big drop took place? Or was it just coincidence? Leave your comments below. Be interesting to see what people think about this. Now, on March 9th, the news came out to the whole world. Everybody heard about this. And the interesting thing was that a lot of people were now saying, should we buy oil? Should we buy oil? But technical analysis was clearly stating now that we were heading for a major downtrend simply because this whole section is now red. Red indicating that it is bearish. Now, that was the first major news, the first alarming news. So where everybody was wondering, should we be buying, should we be buying? What we see here with the Magenta software was don't buy, don't buy, don't buy, don't buy. There was nothing that suggested we should be buying throughout this whole time. If anything, it was saying just hold on to your shorts, place stops along the way, and that's all it did. Now, on April 12th, that's the second date. The first date was March 5th. The second most important day was April 12th. Why? Because on April 12th, an agreement was made within OPEC, Saudi Arabia, Russia, and some other countries involved in the whole oil industry. They all came to an agreement saying that they are going to cut oil production. This was supposed to be good news. Most people would see this and say, wow, get ready to start buying. The next day, another article came out and said the OPEC production cut is a farce, and the Saudi OSP announcement made it even more so. Here was the key information that a lot of people were not paying attention to. And when I say a lot of people, I'm talking about the people that are saying, should we be buying? Should we be buying? Price is so cheap. Why should we not be buying oil? The production cuts will not, keyword, will not prevent surplus global oil inventory in May and June. What does that mean? That means that even though production cuts may help the oil industry, it was going to be something that would happen later on down the road. Short term, March, April, May, and June, it's not going to help the short term issues that oil was dealing with. What you will see here now, on this day, it was suggesting we place a strong stop. Technical analysis through Magenta Trader was suggesting don't do anything. Place your stops. Don't buy more right now. The very next day, a highly strong recommendation to place your stop. The day of the announcement. Now, this is the Friday before the announcement. The announcement was on a Sunday, for April 12th. On that Friday, the analysis was still saying just leave your stops in place just in case. Sunday night comes out, the announcement is made. Technical analysis was suggesting that people in the know was actually selling after this great news came out. Probably because they knew short term, even the deal they just made was not going to help the oil industry. Why are they selling if there was just major good news? Do you believe that people knew this was going to happen even before major announcement came out? The very next day, they sold some more. Technical analysis was suggesting through Magenta's algorithm that they were selling, not buying. By this time, some people started getting a little curious. Like, what's going on? I thought this was supposed to make the market go higher. Why is it going lower? This was going lower and lower. So from the 13th, after the announcement was made, it was showing that these people were selling, and they were selling, and they were selling. And then by 17th, they said, look, just hold on. If you sold through this point, just hold on to it. And then the next day it went down, and then we had one of the biggest crashes in history. It's okay to look at the news, but you gotta confirm it with technical analysis. Magenta Trader is a technical analysis interpretation software, which means it takes all the guesswork out of it. It lets you know what technical analysis is saying, and all you have to do is just see what the trade action is each and every day. Is it time to buy? Well, technical analysis will let you know. Magenta Trader will let you know when we see technical analysis improving.